From the center of the universe, now in its 7th season covering your 19-time Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts, it's the X's and Argos podcast with Argos color analyst Ben Grant and Coach JB.
Welcome to the X's and Argos postgame reaction podcast brought to you by Something in the Water Brewing. Ben Grant, joined as always by JB, and the Argos find a way to get it done, finally, in the dying minutes, in a game that looked lost. It looked lost like so many other games this season have looked lost in the most painful of fashions, and yet it was Toronto who had the last laugh. The Toronto that got a break in the dying seconds, literally the dying second, and they're the ones that come away from Hamilton with a victory. The Argos win 35-33 on a last-second field goal after a last-second 62-yard catch and run that went literally to the last second. JB and I will wrap it all up for you. We'll go through what we got out of today's games, our plays of the game, our players of the game. But before we do that, I want to tell you about Something in the Water Brewing. This is the time that you want one of those celebratory beers. You've got a beer for all occasions at Something in the Water Brewing. After a tough loss, they've got the beer for you. After a win like this, they've got the beer for you. If you just want to go and hang out in the patio, enjoy this sunshine in the late summer, go down to Liberty Village, hang out at Something in the Water Brewing. It's the perfect location to go before and after Argos games. It's the perfect location to go right after practice. If you're going down to check out the Argos in Liberty Village, they're just steps away from BMO Field and steps away from Lamport Stadium. Before we get into our analysis, first, I will let you hear some of our radio replays. Here's Mike Hogan's call from today's wild action from Hamilton on TSN 1050.
From the 41, their own, it's a first down Argos, and they will go Brown up the middle, stutter step, gets his way through 2 levels to midfield, down to the 45-yard line, and a couple more. He was the hammer, not the nail, and it's a big run for the Argos with Spencer Brown. From the 27-yard line, Mittal stands to the left of Arbuckle, 3 receivers to the right. Here comes the pressure. Arbuckle reads it. He goes long to the end zone, has a man. Touchdown! Jake Herslow, all he does is score touchdowns, and the Argos have increased the lead. It's 13-6. 4 receivers to the near side, 1 up top. Bell is in the backfield, standing to the right of Mitchell. Back to pass, Mitchell comes near side, he's got a man picked off, he threw it way behind him. T-Time's got it, 40, 35, 30, he could go, he drops it, and the Ticats knock it out of bounds. They were in field goal range inside the 20-yard line, it got knocked out, and Hamilton's going to get the ball back. Alert play by the Ticats just to knock it out of bounds. But disaster for the Ticats turns into a fortuitous bounce. Snap is good. Here's some pressure. He gets it away. And it hits and bounces back toward the Hamilton goal line. And Grant's going to pick it up. There will be a no-yards flag, and he could turn the corner. 30, 35, 40. He needs 1 block. He got it. Midfield, 50, 45, angled out of bounds. Huge return by Janarian Grant. With 1:21 left, the Argos are going to have outstanding field position. They're in field goal range already, trailing by 2. Mittal's going to come to the near side with Brissett and Unger. Brown is going to be in the backfield to the left of Arbuckle. Ball on the left hash mark. Arbuckle's just changed the play. Polk and Herslow are up top. It's a blitz. Arbuckle, deep drop, flips into the goal line. It's caught. Touchdown. Welcome back home, Mackay Polk. Touchdown! His first game back in double blue, and the Argos are back in business. They're down 3 with a conversion to come. Hamilton's in a 4-man 43 front to start. First down, left hash mark, 3-yard line. It's play action. They dump it out, and they've got Herslow again for the touchdown! Jake Herslow's second touchdown of the afternoon, and the Argos have reclaimed the lead. It's 31-27. Arbuckle with a 4-man rush. Under pressure again. Steps up, throws it long, looking, caught at the 25-yard line. Mackay Polk back in Canada and back in the highlight reel. First down on the 25. Huge play for the Argo defense. Leading by 5. A field goal isn't good enough for the Ticats. Mitchell's going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 to start on the left side. A tight end on the near side. Bell is also to that side. Now 3 receivers go in motion from left to right. Ball is snapped. Mitchell, quick hitter, knocked down at the line! It got swatted down, and the Argos are forced a turnover on downs. Winton McManus is good at football. From their own 44-yard line, 4 receivers near side. Arbuckle throws it deep middle, looking Brissett, who makes the catch. 30-yard line, 25, 20, 15. Knocked out of bounds with a second left on the clock. The clock says 0. He was out with a second left. He was out with a second left. He's marked out at the 3-yard line. So here's Hairolahu for the win from 11. Here's the snap from Chavez. Hold is good. Kick is up. With a flag down, the kick is through. What's the penalty? It's probably pyramided.
Yeah, it's going to be against Hamilton.
We've got to wait for the call.
Pyramiding. Hamilton.
It was.
Penalties declined.
And the Argos have come into Hamilton and stolen 2 from the Ticats with a last-second game winner from Liram Hairolahu. Hallelujah, Hairolahu. Argos win.
All right, JB, let's go through this. I'm just going to turn it over to you first. And Mike Hogan asked me if he wanted to, because he loves this line that you came up with when we did a Grey Cup pod a few years back after the Robbie Smith blocked field goal. You referred to that game as drunk. And he said, do me a favor, I want you to ask JB, was this game drunk?
The fourth quarter was definitely drunk. It definitely looked like a very normal game in the first half. Classic kind of defensive sparring match. Each team not really moving the ball that well. And then the third quarter flew by in the blink of an eye. And the fourth quarter was just chaos.
You know what's weird? I don't know how obvious it was to people watching on TV, but the wind was an odd factor in the game today. The wind was going into the Argos' face in the fourth quarter, and it seemed to really impact the kicking game. It didn't seem to impact quarterbacks too much. It didn't look like much here at the field. Watching the uprights, the flags at the top of the uprights, they were moving, but not much. Like, certainly, we've seen windy games here at Hamilton Stadium. This didn't look to be one of them, and yet if you just watch the punters and kickers, it was very windy. That said, the team that was going into the wind scored more in every single quarter today. So I don't know what that says. I don't know what to make of it. But that, I think, goes on top of this game being drunk. That's just one of those extra elements. JB, let's go. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So going through, I think maybe it's best that we start out kind of going in chronological order and seeing where this one takes us, because it was such a wild finish. We'll have to get to that for sure. But the way this started out, I thought Nick Arbuckle looked very comfortable in the first half. It didn't always generate touchdowns, but each of his drives, he was able to move the ball efficiently. He was throwing at a high percentage. I think at one point he was 13 of 14, and his only incompletion was a drop, where Spencer Brown just wasn't ready yet. But for me, what had the offense working in the first quarter was Hamilton was playing high. They were determined not to let anyone deep. And the Argos were generating a lot of yardage out of the backfield, throwing to Spencer Brown. He ended up with 9 catches for 64 yards, 10 targets. That one missed target was a drop on Spencer's part. But he got lined up with Dejon Brissett in the first half almost exclusively, and he's just faster than a middle linebacker. And so that seemed to be what Arbuckle was able to keep moving the sticks with. They'd get to a second down situation, he'd check it down to Spencer Brown, who would outrun Brissett to the sticks, and the drive would keep moving. Now, eventually they would run out of real estate and kick a field goal, but Hamilton made an adjustment in the second half, and it felt like the Argos never really had an answer to that. When suddenly Spencer Brown's going up against a DB, there should be more open downfield. Hamilton switched to running a lot of man coverage, and it seemed like Toronto's solution was to try and go deep at that point instead of going with what was working with them in the first half. How did you read Nick Arbuckle's play today, and maybe some of the play calling and play design from the Argos' first and second half?
Yeah, I thought Arbuckle played fantastic. He looked confident. He looked relaxed. This is his team. He was, step for step with Bo Levi, who's probably odds on to be MVP. So I think when you have a quarterback who can go punch for punch, with the presumptive MVP, you're in great shape. So I thought Nick played fantastic. I thought he threw on the run. I thought he was more mobile than he's been in the past. He looked terrific. I thought they used Spencer Brown really well. I'm glad that they went to him. Hamilton was just dropping everybody. We had talked about in the pregame, where they even took it beyond what I might have even suggested. They essentially were dropping 8 and 9 guys. So it was not easy to move the ball. But I thought they used the screen game really effectively. I thought they really punished Hamilton's desire to get a sack in front of that rabid home crowd. I thought that they did a really good job of that. I thought the opening drive was huge to calm that crowd down, to kind of, even though it only ended up with a field goal, to kind of work your way down the field so effectively. It calmed the bloodlust of the crowd. I thought that was really important.
Yeah, I thought Toronto did a great job of that. Like you said, right from the opening drive. Like, fans were a little late coming in here. It got very crowded. It ended up being a very full building, but probably a third of the fans weren't in their seats by the time kickoff occurred. There were lineups out every entrance. And what was great is that by the time they got in, the Argos were up, and it never really took off in this place. Like, it got loud at moments, but not like some Labor Day games that we've seen.
They did a really good job of controlling that quarter and not letting it get away. Although, and they dealt with, teams are clearly bringing the pass rush in the second half. I don't think it's by accident that suddenly in the third quarter it's a jailbreak on every down. So that's definitely something Toronto's going to have to adjust to.
Well, their adjustment isn't, the way they dealt with it isn't really an answer, which was Arbuckle was just dodging guys. And it just can't be like that. Like, he was sidestepping right, sidestepping left, stepping up in the pocket, retreating. He was under fire. And sometimes, I actually thought the O-line struggled in the second half. I think a lot of it was with blitz pickup. Not necessarily assignment-based, but just losing their guys. And Spencer Brown lost the edge defender a few times. He made a bad read one time, too, where he let Stubblefield come through and went for the wide guy instead. Arbuckle got rocked there. But I thought Arbuckle did very well to deal with a pretty messy pocket and just kept his eyes downfield, which is it's so hard to do. And that's not a skill that I think of when I think of Nick Arbuckle. He's got a lot of skill set to his game, but that's not really in the first half of the season something we're used to seeing from him, but he has shown that in the last few games. That pocket awareness of his has doubled.
It's amazing to watch him, the way he moves up in the pocket now, and the way he's able to throw on the run. He is, I don't want to say completely different, but he is so much more a complete quarterback than he was at any point during Chad's suspension, or even last year. Even in the Grey Cup, he didn't look this good in terms of his mobility and ability to throw on the run and ability to run if needed. He looks great. There's no two ways about it. He is the quarterback of this team. He is not a backup.
Yeah, he's playing the best. There's no question. He is playing the best football he's ever played. It's without a doubt. You look at these. This is now, what is it, 6 games in a row with over 300 yards passing?
It's the Bo Levi joke I made last year. Is Arbuckle MVP of the league?
Well,
I would have that argument with anybody.
He would be MVP of the league if the Toronto Argonauts were currently a 9-win team.
Well, that's what some Bo Levi last year.
No question.
Right?
I know. It's the exact same thing. And so we'll see. And again, there's still a long way to go before those votes have to be tallied and everything else. But you look at his body of work, he's leading the league in passing yards. He's, again, today with a clean sheet, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I don't know, I'm not sure, I have to do some math, but I don't think he's leading the Argos in rushing anymore. I think Spencer Brown, with a 90-yard performance, has actually passed Arbuckle and now leads, in 2 games, is now the leading rusher on the Toronto Argonauts, I believe, but I'll have to do some math. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's talk about that. I guess the first of many really unfortunate plays for the Toronto Argonauts because, like I said, like Toronto should have won this game by 20 points. They threw away so many points today. The first one, I think. Sorry, go on.
That's the thing. Like, look, it's awesome that they won in Hamilton. It is awesome that all those fans had to go home. In fact, one who I know who was on the broadcast at the end of the game. But this was not, there's the clean sheet we've been looking for. This was exactly like all of their other games, except they caught a break at the end.
The first bad play that I think, I don't know if I've got this in chronological order, we'll do our best, but the first touchdown to Dejon Brissett that gets called back on a holding penalty. We didn't get a chance to see the replay up here in the booth. It was a beautiful throw from Nick Arbuckle. Brissett was between two defenders. He leapt out of the building to make the catch, and it was just a huge celebration from the sideline, and then suddenly, not so fast, boys. There's a holding penalty.
It was like it was an inside move, and the lineman ended up like on the back of the defender. So it was more like a riding penalty than a holding penalty.
It's still a penalty, probably, but
they often will call holding when you ride the defensive end.
So that was the first one, and that was just that was so tough. It was a gut punch.
I know, such a bad omen.
Yeah, but it continued. Then there was the block punt touchdown. And if you haven't had a chance to see this play yet, essentially what happened is Toronto had, just to use more simple terminology, we'll just say a slot back who's going to go downfield and cover. And he's got a gunner in front of him who's going to slow that guy down in theory. But that guy ended up firing as part of the punt block. He came after, and he's the guy that blocked the punt. Generally, the way that's drawn up is that slot back, that offensive player on the punting team, has to pick that guy up. If he thinks that guy's coming, he's got to hold in and pick him up. But he didn't. He let him run free. The punt was blocked. Verisek recovered it in the end zone for the touchdown. Is that the way you saw it? Watching the game as well?
They never gave a wide angle. I wanted to see like a wide all-24 shot of it. Because I wasn't sure why the slot guy went. That's definitely not how you draw that up. And also, you got to get that punt off a little faster. Like, somebody coming from out there, even if they time the snap, should not get there.
Well, remember, they are dealing with a new long snapper too. With Simon Chavez, he doesn't quite have the gas that Guillemette does, and that's why Guillemette is the regular starter, and Chavez has been on 6. Chavez is like the 10th best guy in the league. There's no question. He's been on 6 different teams in the last 2 years because he's the guy everyone calls when their long snapper goes down. He's excellent, but there is a tier difference between he and Guillemette, who I view as one of the best in the league in terms of snap velocity and placement. And so maybe that's part of it. But I want to give a shout out to Chavez here because even with all the problems there had been, there was a block punt, there was a missed field goal off the uprights, which was another series of points that Toronto threw away. And yet, even with those problems, that mechanism all functioned perfectly with the game on the line. It's high stress. Chavez had to deliver that snap perfectly. Hamilton, he knew he was going to take a hit too. Hamilton was coming after it. They pyramided, they went flying over him illegally, and he hung in there and he delivered a perfect snap for that winning field goal.
I feel the penalty for pyramiding should be an automatic 3 points.
Yeah, I would be for that. I would support
Where
that.
you would say, yeah, you can do that, but it's an automatic field goal. They're not kicking it again. They don't get a chance at a 2 points. And this was like you're giving them an automatic 3 because it's in there because it's dangerous. It's dangerous to the long snapper. Anyways, that's just an aside. But yeah, 100%. Hero is ice. He only missed that kick because he got the ball flat like a pizza. It was not a good snap, and laces in. So, and he still nearly made it.
I know.
He's the man.
Yeah, he actually hit. So in pregame warmup, I was watching him. I always want to check his distance. He tried from 70 in pregame warmup. I'm like, oh, don't try from 70. Just you're not going to be in that situation. He hit it off the crossbar. just hit the top of the crossbar from 70. I'm like, all right, he's good from 69 going with the wind. So he's got a boot on him.
It was. No, I mean, that first quarter, they should have been up by 20. I mean, that you have to know they're coming. You're on your own 10. Like, they're clearly coming on that punt.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And then the next thing that went wrong, Tavares McFadden had a great interception. Beautiful interception. It was a bad throw from Bo. It was way behind his receiver. McFadden made a great diving catch. I thought initially he didn't catch it. I thought he trapped it. And you see the replay. I'm like, no, he got his arms under it, got up, had the wherewithal to get his bearings and take to the sideline, gets deep into Hamilton territory. And then I think it was Bridges that came back and knocked it free. Hamilton knocks it out of bounds, so it's their ball in their own territory. Again, that's at least another 3 points that the Argos have given away, if not a touchdown off of that. That you hate to see that because it was such a good play. Like McFadden, with the roller coaster that he would have gone through on a play like that, he had a pretty up and down day too.
Yeah, I would imagine those guys will be doing some ball security drills during Indies coming up. And, man, full credit to that Hamilton offensive lineman who, like, flew through the air and knocked it out of bounds, like Superman.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? So, like, full credit to that dude.
Yeah, and knowing, too, well, he's Canadian, too, and so he's very familiar with how that rule works, that all I got to do is knock this out of bounds. And it didn't
surprise me that the offensive lineman knew that, but it did surprise me that he flew through the air so gracefully.
Yeah, so that was another, again, more points that the Argos could have had, didn't have, but it continued. It just seemed like every couple plays, they're like, oh my goodness, like that long pass. There were two long passes actually. One was to, I'm trying to remember here. One was to Smith, Counter Smith. The other one I think might have been, I don't remember. I don't know who it was. It might have been Bridges. But both were short passes that ended up going for a mile, just because there was no one there for whatever reason. Lawler cleared a guy out. Guy that runs a little flat route, and just nobody was around for whatever reason. Ended up turning to a 55-yard gain. And then another play where Bo looks like he's going to be sacked like 3 different times, and then just looped it over Tavares McFadden to Smith just standing on the sideline there about 10 seconds into the play, and then he ran down the sideline for a huge gain. They're just this close to getting a sack, and instead it goes the other way for a huge play, which we've seen Bo Levi Mitchell do a few times over the years. But it just felt like it felt like this wasn't going to be an Argos win, because we've seen this happen so many times.
I had them all written out. Like, here we go. Here's the laundry list of self-inflicted wounds that cost them this game, right? Where it's like, you need all your fingers to count the things that they did. So it was not a clean operation. Even the final play was almost an Argo-esque disaster.
Thank goodness for replay.
Oh,
because the clock's read 0 on the clock. Well, let's get there. Let's end with
Coach,
that.
Yeah, what would Coach have done? My God.
Oh, it'd be like that guy in Inside Out, exploding with rage.
He might have taken Brissett with him.
Yeah, well, it looked like, who was it that was yelling at? But let's get to that play afterwards. Let's get there first. So we got a few plays to go here. I want to talk about this penalty play before the pump block, because I got some clarification. Mike and I in the booth here were going bananas because we saw the crackback block from Felix Garan-Gauthier. It was a 2nd and 3 play. It was an incomplete pass downfield. The crackback penalty was the call I didn't have an issue with, but it happened during the play. And the Argos were penalized a loss of down, but also the 15-yard penalty, bringing up 3rd and 18 from what was a 2nd and 3. And I've never seen that before. I've never seen that happen, and I couldn't understand the scenarios, because even in the CFL rulebook, in a part where it highlights loss of down penalties, all that comes up are intentional grounding and and time count violations, delay of games in the last 3 minutes. Those are the only loss of down penalties. And so looking that up, I was like at a loss for what happened there. We got an explanation from the officiating crew after the game, and what they said was it's essentially, because it's a UR, it's basically like a roughing the passer call, but it's on the offense instead of against the defense. So for a defense, like if you give up a big play and you rough the passer, the offense gets the result of that play and they get the 15 yards for roughing the passer. And so the same thing, a crackback being a UR, the same thing occurs against the offense. So the result of the play was an incomplete pass. And so Hamilton got the result of the play, which they could have chosen to decline if it was a completed pass, but it wasn't, so they accepted that. And they got to assess the 15-yard penalty as well. So I don't know that I've ever seen that happen. You so rarely see penalties like that against the offense. And so in this particular case, that's why, if you're wondering like we were, what happened there, because that was the play right before the punt block, and it changed things, because if that ball is 15 yards further up on a 3rd and 3, I don't think Hamilton sends all their guys after it the way that they did when Haggerty's kicking out of his own end zone. So I just think that completely changed the game. But having now got that explanation, I think that was assessed correctly, and that's why it looks so weird.
Yeah, that has to get cleaned up. I mean, crackbacks have been out of the game for like 7 years. You cannot be taking that penalty. I mean, you just can't do that anymore. I mean, you're not allowed to step into a guy with your shoulder anymore from the blind side. So I just don't know why on earth you would be getting a penalty like that in 2025.
And then so that Argos went into the half up, but only up by 2, and it just felt like, man, this probably should be a 2-score game right now, if nothing else. And the third quarter went very poorly for the Argonauts. They didn't have any life on offense. That's where Hamilton made the adjustment. They switched to running a lot of man coverage. They took Spencer Brown away from the passing game. They had a man on him, and Toronto just couldn't seem to get first downs. It looked like they were trying to go deep downfield instead of taking what Hamilton was giving them. It looked like the philosophy changed a little bit. And going into the fourth, you wanted to have the lead. Toronto didn't. They were able to at least get that field goal at the end, but going into the win in the fourth quarter, you're thinking, man, down a few points here, and then Hamilton scored first in the fourth to go up 2 scores, and at that point, it didn't feel over necessarily with like 12 minutes left, but it didn't feel good.
No. They did not really give a lot of resistance in the passing game. Kenny Lawler came alive. They didn't seem to have a second half game plan for Kenny Lawler. So yeah, I was I was deeply concerned that Kenny Lawler was loose.
Yeah, defensively, he got free. They moved him around a ton. So in the first half, Hamilton was running a lot of motion with Lawler, but not necessarily using him. And I think they were just collecting data on, okay, how are they going to respond to this? What do they do when we put Lawler here out of this package, this formation, we move him here? Who does that really isolate him with? Because they used that to their advantage when they needed a drive. And I'll get to that big drive in a moment, but let's start with Toronto getting back into it in the fourth quarter. Nick Arbuckle ends up with a long drive. The Argos gamble, 3rd and 3 from the Hamilton 3. They didn't have to go for it there. They could have kicked the field goal to make it a 1-score game. I think that's the correct move. I think you go for it on 3rd and 3 in that situation. Down, what were they, down 9 at that point?
Well, absolutely.
You because if you miss it, at least Hamilton's back on their own 3-yard line. Like, to get 3 points and have Hamilton come all the way up to the 40, I hate that exchange. So you go for it, and they ran a heck of a play. What I love about being on the 3-yard line is that's all your 2-point conversion packages, and coaches have a ton of those. So Coach Dinwiddie just looks down his list. He's like, okay, I got this great one for Herslow, and they use that. It's a play that's designed to only get 3 yards. He came across the formation, got a quick pass from Arbuckle. Metal's engaged in a block on the edge, and he basically uses that block action as a screen, is able to turn the corner and reach the ball across. Yeah,
really, really well timed, right? Because essentially it's a pick, but it's not a pick because he's blocking him.
Yeah.
So they timed it really, really well. Because, essentially was like between him, like he couldn't get at him. Also, it's an excellent point you bring up. Credit to the CFL. Like the field goal is so punitive if you kick the field goal. Like the 40 is so far.
Yes. Yeah, but I
Where
love
it's
that.
like, even if you don't get it, you're buried on your 2. Like, you give him the 40, that's like an amazing run back
Yeah.
for 3 points. I mean, you're essentially trading 3. Like they only need to go friggin' 30 yards to get a field goal. Like, it just, to me, even more so, coaches, like, if you're 6 yards and in, I just don't think the trade-off is worth it for 3 points. Although, like, they kicked at the beginning, and I get that's the first drive of the game, and you want to get points, and you don't want to get that crowd fired up on a play. I think there are times not, but I do think more times than not, going for it is the play.
And the Argos there were down. They end up with that touchdown to where am I here? I'm just getting lost in my game chronology here. So that first touchdown from 3 yards, the first touchdown from 3 yards out. Oh no, there was the Mackay Polk touchdown. I forgot about that touchdown. That's the one that brought them back within 3, where Mackay just basically ran a drag all the way across the formation. Ended up it's just hard to stick with him. I want to talk about that because I thought Arbuckle made a great play on that. So Hamilton sent everybody, and Spencer Brown tried to pick up the edge man, but failed. He got by him. Arbuckle had no time. He was backing up, and he knew he was just about to get hit, but he also knew Mackay wasn't ready for the ball yet. He was running a drag from the far side of the field and just hadn't cleared traffic. And so Arbuckle just kind of threw it high and left to no one, knowing that by the time the ball came down, Mackay would be there. And I just thought that was such an intelligent veteran throw, to know that I really need to throw the ball a second from now, but I can't. And so instead, I'm just going to put it up, and a second from now, it's going to come down, and Mackay's going to be there. It's exactly what happened. Polk caught it, went ahead for the touchdown. Then we had the Herslow touchdown. Now suddenly the Argos are up, and that leads to what I thought was going to be the drive that we'd be thinking about for the next few months. Walk us through that last Hamilton touchdown drive.
Well,
it wasn't very long. It was a couple
no,
of big plays.
I mean, I was certainly angry. That's a good word. When Kenny Lawler caught a deep pass over the middle. One, because he should have had 8 people on him. They clearly were looking to Kenny Lawler. But on top of not having him doubled effectively, I didn't understand how you couldn't possibly have a single high safety if not cover 3. I mean, they have to go down the field in a hurry. When he cut that pass, like, that's a perfect pick play where he's going to throw that deep post, and here comes the safety, because they're trying to go to Kenny Lawler. I don't understand why they adjusted, to something where there was not a single high safety. I guess that was deeply frustrating. On top of the touchdown to Kenny Lawler, which was also incredibly frustrating. That one that Drew was on Kenny Lawler, which I don't think is a great matchup for you, and
on both plays. Yeah,
and just. If you're gonna double him, like, I want both guys in his pocket. It's the end zone. I don't want the safety 7 yards away from him. What is he preventing yards after catch? Like, I want people riding his back like a piggyback. Is what I want. I want him jammed at the line, and I want a group of people moving with him, and give up inside leverage, and it was easy pitch and catch to Kenny Lawler. So those 2 plays were really frustrating, because when you get beat by the other team's best player, that is not great planning.
I thought the Hamilton Tiger Cats did a good job of diagnosing exactly how they could get that matchup. First of all, I'm not sure how much Willie Drew thought he'd be playing in this game, and I don't mean to bang on him, because
that makes 2 of us.
Yeah, well, I think it's a lot to ask of him. Like, to have him come in and play, I thought he'd be out there for a few snaps today. I didn't think he'd be one-on-one with Kenny Lawler. That's not the plan. But when Tyshawn Blackburn came out and Bratton moved to safety, that meant that Willie Drew was going to be your guy at the halfback spot. And so he was in there a lot. And Hamilton did a good job of isolating the newest member of Toronto's secondary against the best receiver in the CFL. And on back-to-back plays, or not back-to-back plays, but back-to-back impactful plays, Hamilton punished them with it. That 50-yarder on the post route. And again, like you, I don't know why they didn't have a deep safety, but they were being aggressive there. I don't like being aggressive against Bo. I think when you've got a veteran like that, blitzing doesn't usually work. It's like unless you have an absolute lockdown solution and you're sure that you've got man coverage that is going to outdo whatever the offense is going to run. And I'm not that sure you can take that chance when Kenny Lawler and Tim White and company are out there. Unless you've got that situation, I don't think you blitz a quarterback like Bo Levi too much. Maybe one blitzer sometimes, but I think generally you got to win your battles. You have to get pressure with 4. Doing it any other way, I think, leaves you vulnerable, and he burned them for it. What I do want to give credit for, though, is Coach Dinwiddie calling that timeout when he did. Realizing that the defense was reeling a little bit, and realizing, too, that if he didn't call a timeout there, Hamilton would have scored with under 10 seconds left. He calls that timeout, and that is what gave them a bit of life. When Hamilton scored on the next play, there's now 18 seconds left. And it took a lot not to throw that challenge flag, I'm sure, earlier in the game and lose that timeout. There was the Benji Franklin pass interference penalty that I might have thrown the challenge flag on. Coach didn't. He hung on to it. And that timeout proved to be very valuable in the dying seconds. So let's walk through those last 18. First of all, I will say a ton of Hamilton fans left here with a minute left. When Hamilton turned the ball over on downs back to Toronto, the place emptied out with like a minute to go. And I was like, these guys are going to be sorry. And sure enough, I thought they were when Hamilton came down and scored. I thought they were probably trying to, clamber to get back in or celebrate from the streets. But instead, maybe they knew best because the people that stayed were not happy in the end. The Argos put together this amazing drive. It started with Jake Herslow. Who else? They kicked to Herslow instead of Grant because Grant was having a fantastic game, had some really good returns to the outside. Couldn't quite get one in, but he was lights out.
He doesn't always have his legs, but he had them today.
He did. And Herslow had a great return. He went straight up the middle to the 45-yard line. Now, it took 6 seconds, but now with 12 seconds left, Toronto's on their own 45. They probably needed, in my mind, I thought they needed probably 27 yards. I thought you have 2 plays, most likely, and you got to get 27 yards out of those 2 plays to be able to kick like a 45-yard field goal. And they launched one up to Brissett, which I actually didn't like that plan. It looked a little bit too much like the Hail Mary to Coxie a few weeks back. It just looked so desperation-like.
Yeah.
But he went up between 2 defenders, caught the ball, and then if you've ever seen one of those like physics ball contraptions that sit on people's desks, that's basically what happened. 2 Hamilton defenders collided simultaneously into Brissett as he was making the catch. So they took each other's inertia and bounced off. He was unfazed, landed with the ball, turned around, and ran for it. Now, this is what we got to talk about. When you've got that little time left in the game,
and run for it,
and it's the CFL, as soon as you know you're in field goal range, you hit the deck. You got to go down. You surrender yourself. You give yourself up with time still on the clock. You don't have to go out of bounds because the clock stops anyway, and there's one more play regardless, even if the clock hits zeros after it's blown back in. But you have to know in that situation, I just got to go to ground. And I saw that field open up in front of Brissett, and I'm like, he's going to try and score. And at that point, if you're going to try and score, you have to know with 100% certainty that you can score. And if there's any doubt in your mind, you have to go down or you got to go out of bounds, one of the two. You have to end the play before the clock ticks down to 0. And you can see the clock because it's in the end zone and you're running towards that end zone. So as Brissett looks up, running down the field, he has to register. As soon as he sees, hey, there's less than 5 seconds left, you got to hit the deck there. And he didn't. He went for the end zone. He stepped out at the 3-yard line. Stepped out at the 3-yard line, diving for the pylon. Hit the pylon, but he was out at the 3. The clocks in the stadium all showed 0. And the fans in Hamilton were cheering when this they went to review because I think the fans here thought Brissett had scored, and that's what was being reviewed. It wasn't clearly relayed to everyone in the stadium. And so the fans here thought Brissett scored the touchdown, and they were waiting to hear if the touchdown was overturned. So by all miracles, Dejon Brissett's foot went out with 1 second left in the game. And so that meant there was one more play. But when they announced that Brissett stepped out of bounds, there was a huge cheer from the Hamilton crowd thinking that was the end of the game. But they didn't realize, and 1 second is now being put back on the clock, enough time for that game-winning field goal. Talk me through what you saw from Brissett.
Yeah, that good news, bad news announcement was kind of the final dagger twist. Yeah, look, it was an amazing play.
Amazing catch.
It was, look, the wide receivers played fantastic today. They absolutely came down with some 50-50 balls, all day in terms of like just commitment to winning. And that was an amazing catch. He had, that's bad defensive play. Obviously, those Hamilton guys just need to knock the ball down. You don't need to catch it. You just need to knock the ball down. So that's, they'll hear it from their coaches for sure on that kind of play. And then when he started to run and things opened up and he had his hand out and he was looking to, as soon as he started to straight arm the tackler is when I got concerned, because it was like, oh God, he's going to try and put it in the end zone. Now, credit to Dejon, he did run to the sideline, so he didn't run down the middle of the field.
That would have been better.
I'm just so grateful, for all involved, Coach Dinwiddie, Mike, just everybody, that he stepped out of bounds with 1 second.
Yes.
It would have been the most Argo 2025 Argo way for that game to end on what looked like an amazing diving touchdown to be just a pie in the face nothing burger. We're literally 1 second away from a Hamilton punchline for 10 years. It's hard to believe how close we came to that.
And after the play, I don't know if it was Kevin Mittal, I don't know who it was. Somebody got into Brissett's face immediately as he was lying there in the end zone.
Of course they did.
Someone was right over top of him, screaming into his face, like, "You got to know the situation. You got to get it." Because I think at that point, he thought the game was over because he looked up and saw zeros. And it's like, "What are you doing?" I'm sure the whole sideline was like, "Get down, get down." And it brought me back to a championship game that I coached in where we had a very similar situation. We needed a last-second kick for the win in the championship, and a receiver caught the ball far enough downfield to just go down, which is what we'd instructed him to do in the huddle and our last time out. He caught the ball and thought, "I think I can make it." And luckily was tackled with, I think it was 0.3 seconds left.
Right.
And we were able to get the game-winning kick.
Homer jumping the canyon on his skateboard. It could have gone just incredibly poorly. Even coach after the game, you could see was, just left. I think he was happy, but also still so angry at the stupidity of it all. But sometimes you gotta get those breaks. It hasn't always happened this season.
No kidding.
But they've earned, I think karmically, they've had some tough breaks and they were due for one, and to rip that win away from Bo Levi as he was being feted as Mr. Labor Day by the broadcasters is pretty sweet. I would imagine that that's going to be a pretty fun bus ride home.
Who's your player of the game today?
It's a good question. I'll give a couple of shout-outs. I thought that Spencer Brown was terrific.
Yeah.
Absolutely, when they were playing such a light box and coach went to him, both catching out of the backfield and running the ball effectively. Like he had 150, 154
yards, yeah.
Yeah, all-purpose yards. I thought he played fantastic. Obviously, Herslow continues to be, Mr. Football. You can see why his coaches love him and why he keeps making teams, keeps being made captain. He's just got that. He's got that stuff. Whatever it is, he's got it. And all that time he spent, with Arbuckle when Arbuckle was the backup. They've got that tremendous chemistry. I thought him, but I have to give it to Arbuckle. I thought he was the reason they won. He threw for 350, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, 33 of 40 with 33 of 40, which is great, for 352, which is unbelievable.
He went
3
punch
touchdowns.
for punch with the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, and he was better.
He was better. Yeah, he has to be player of the game for me.
Yeah, no, I would do that too, but just for the sake of not being boring, I'll throw it around a little bit. Like you said, like Spencer Brown was amazing. 154 all-purpose yards, 10 carries for 90 yards, 9 yards a carry for a Toronto running back this season. That was working well.
Heavy running too. Like tone setting, let the offense feel like they're not getting bullied.
That 27-yarder that he had, where he just knocked a guy flat on his back, I thought
that's important.
Oh, that was huge. That was just
important for the offense to feel that.
Yeah, just to feel like you're imposing something on the other guy, not the other way around. And then the receivers, they all stepped up. Like Herslow was great. Dinwiddie said something about Herslow that I thought was interesting. He said he's the ultimate competitor. He hates to lose so much that is what makes him. Yeah, that's what drives him.
That's why coaches love him.
Yeah, and he had the two.
We talked. We're like, how did this guy get invited to an NFL camp?
Yeah, well, we were like, how did he get invited to the CFL camp initially? Because you look at his measurables, you look at the guy, and you're like, I don't know if this guy's a pro football player.
No.
Turns out he is a pro football player, a darn good one too. But I thought, no receiver until Brissett's 62-yarder on the second last play of the game. Like the leading Toronto receiver, I think, was Spencer Brown with 64 yards or something like that. Oh no, 67. Herslow had 67, but Arbuckle was spreading it around. You had Brown with 64. Tall with 40, Herslow with 67, Polk with 64, Ungerer had 31 and 2 pretty big catches, and then Brissett was relatively quiet with his touchdown taken off the board initially, and then that 62-yarder added to his total, because he only had like 24 yards receiving coming into that second last play. He ends up leading the team in yardage. I think I'm going to go for my player of the game. I'm gonna go defensively. We haven't talked about the defense, and I'm throwing a curveball here, JB. The defense played very well in the first half. They struggled in the second half. They were put in really bad situations. You know who had an outstanding game that I think we're going to forget about because of the way this game went, and all we can think about is the crazy offense down the stretch. Cameron Judge, I thought, played an excellent game. He had the middle of the field down. He and Winton together, really. But anytime Kenny Lawler came across the field on a drag route, they had him locked. And if he got the ball, they were going to light him up right away. And more times than not, he didn't get the ball because they were there to close it down. I thought Judge was sideline to sideline, made some big hits, almost had a block punt in there as well. He was all over the field. And so on a day where I think correctly you've picked Nick Arbuckle as the game's MVP, I think Cameron Judge is right there, and he'll get my defensive nod for an outstanding game that he played.
He played really well, and when he looks like maybe Winton is feeling a little better. I thought the defense tackled really well in the first half. They got game plans in the second half, and good teams do that. Like they identified things, and it's hard to adjust. But I thought on the whole, and if we get into play the game, I'm going to throw it to the defense here.
Yeah, well, let's do it right now. So let's go to the defense with that segue. What was your play of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of Hamilton miscommunication too, but nevertheless, that 2-point conversion at the end of the game was huge to stop that, to allow a field goal to be the win. Was massive. I mean, and to not just give up and to fight for that and to get pressure on the quarterback and to make that play breakdown was really I think everything. You don't want to go into overtime in Hamilton. It allowed for this incredible victory at the end. So I say full credit to the defense there on stopping the 2-point conversion and not just kind of having their heads down because Kenny Lawler took him to the woodshed.
My play of the game would have been a Wynton McManus play. It ended up, I'm not going to choose that play because things didn't unfold the way they could have. It was that play I'm talking about was the third down play. Hamilton driving, looking for the go-ahead touchdown. They go for it on third down. Wynton, on the pass rush, realized he wasn't going to get there, took a step back, and Willie Jefferson style just went to the air trying to take away that passing lane and batted the ball away to force the turnover on downs with about a minute 30 left or whatever there was. And had Toronto been able to get a first down and run out the clock, that would have been my play of the game. Wynton coming up with the big play. He had a good game today, too. He had a couple great run stops. Really physical presence out there as we were getting used to seeing. But because the Argos didn't get a first down, were 2 and out, punted the ball away, and Hamilton came down and scored again, I'm going to look somewhere else for my play of the game. Now, the logical one would be the 62-yarder to Brissett, because that was the most sensational play of the game. But most of that play wasn't good. The catch was phenomenal. The decision to run for the touchdown wasn't. And so I don't want to give that the play of the game. Instead, I'm going back to that Herslow touchdown because I think that was such a crucial moment. The Argos were down at that point 27-18, 9 points down, 7 minutes left in the game. Toronto goes for it on 3rd and 3, and it was just such a clutch delivery. That is not an easy pass to throw. It doesn't go far. It only traveled about 12 yards in distance. Throwing out to the flats like that on the money is extremely difficult. Herslow's going full speed across the formation. Arbuckle had to just catch and throw. He was on the money with it. The perfect throw is what leads to the touchdown. If that throw's behind, it's not a touchdown. If it's out in front, it's not a touchdown. If it's high, it's not a touchdown. If it's low, it's not a touchdown. It has to be perfect. Mittal with the huge block on the edge. So well designed, so well run, so well practiced that they were able to nail that without even thinking. So that's going to be my play of the game that brought the Argos within 3. Just before we wrap things up, a quick look at the standings, JB. It is a whole new season. The Argos are 1 win out of a playoff spot. That's it. They trail the BC Lions in the crossover by 2 points. And they have the tiebreaker because you always have a tiebreaker over the West in an East crossover spot. They're all alone in 3rd place. They have doubled their win total in the last 2 weeks at 4 and 8. And now you can actually realistically start talking about catching the other guys in your own division. You're no longer just going for the playoffs, 2 points back of BC. You're 1 win behind the Montreal Alouettes, and you've got a game against the Alouettes coming up. And so that is something that I think you got to start turning your attention to. You're no longer thinking we got to get back in the playoff hunt. The Toronto Argonauts are in the playoff hunt. Now they got to figure out which seed they're going to be able to get. Hamilton's a couple games in front, only 2 wins in front. Montreal's 1 win ahead, and the BC Lions are 1 win ahead. And the way the Argos are playing, the way Nick Arbuckle is playing, nobody wants to go up against the Toronto Argonauts right now. The next time you can see the Argos in action is September 13th. Toronto goes into the bye week, and boy, do they need it. With over a dozen guys on the 6-game injured list, guys are banged up left, right, and center. They need this time to rest, recoup, heal before they go into that last stretch of the season. And it's going to be a pretty important one. It starts against the Edmonton Elks, or the former Argos, with over a dozen former Argos starting for the Edmonton Elks. Saturday, September 13th, a 3 o'clock kickoff. Make sure you're there. It's John Candy Appreciation Day that day too, so first 5,000 fans get a John Candy commemorative t-shirt. You want to make sure you're a part of that one. And I love the 3 o'clock starts for families. Perfect time to bring your family to an Argos game, and it is a hugely meaningful one as well. That will just about do it for us on this post-game reaction episode of the X's and Argos podcast. Again, the final from Hamilton Stadium, 35-33 in favor of the Argos. For JB, this is Ben Grant saying so long, and may all your pre-snap reads be good ones. I'll see ya.
Go, Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the